You know, like you're supposed to dance, lead kids to carousels. Why do you need a mimic to learn everything everyone's doing? Kinda. You want to hop in a VC? Hell yes. I just texted you on Discord, Ryetoast. Just the person who could explain that to me. I did not mean to flash Discord like that. Yoink. Let me turn up Discord right quick. There we go. Can you hear me?
Earbuds. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Huge. Okay, you're kind of there. From what the books say, the Edwin Murray is trying to make stuff for FNAF. He's trying to make animatronics for them, and he's kind of bad at being a parent. So his little kid keeps annoying him, and he takes an old endoskeleton and he makes this program, and he calls it the Mimic One program.
Okay.
And the whole point of that program is anything that it sees, it will learn and copy. And that's all it does. That's the only like base programming for this thing. He puts it into this like upper half of an endoskeleton, and he goes, hopefully if I give it to my kid will do something, it'll copy him and he'll play with it. And that kind of worked for a while. And then his kid gets hit by a car.
Damn.
Because he's again a bad parent. Circle back to that. So he like a couple weeks go by, he's grief struck, and then he sees that mimic walking around pretending to be his kid, you know, like he programmed it to do. But he just like loses it and like beats it, just beats it to a pulp.
Damn.
And then the story kind of fast forwards. We don't get to see what happens immediately after that, but the story kind of fast forwards to like Edwin has gone MIA for a couple months, so Fazbear is like sending people to collect what he was working on for their company. They send a team over, and the team finds out while they're there, not only are they not the first team Fazbear sent in, but the first team was killed by something. Oh. They find out the first team found the upper half of the broken mimic and built it back and like repaired it, and it immediately started just killing people. But in ways that is like what it learned. So like for one of them, it killed the guy and hung him in the closet like clothes. Or it killed another guy by putting him in the fridge as if it was putting away food. Like it was doing these copied behaviors, but now violently. The theory being that like it learned violence from being beaten.
Jesus.
So that's the like, in the books, that's the like explanation for what the mimic is physically before everything else that happens. There's kind of a big gap of information. So that's where this game is going to come in. Like, does Fazbear use this in whatever we just saw in that teaser? Or is whatever we just saw in that teaser a different origin? That's going to be the make or break for if these books are in the game's continuity. Because if we see like they built it specifically for a circus, then these books can't really line up with that. But if Fazbear just took it and used it at the circus, then we're fine.
Okay.
And then fast forward to like what you were just talking about with the pizza plex. We're not really sure exactly what happens in the middle, but cut to the pizza plex. When they're clearing out the basement, they receive a shipments of animatronics early. And they're like, that's weird. We shouldn't be getting animatronics yet. One of them is a very burnt endoskeleton with a shiny new head that has little rabbit antennas on it. That endoskeleton has the Mimic One program in it. And then, like you just heard, one of the workers is like, "Oh, I can use this to help us," and he programs it to be like to take things apart. It takes stuff apart. It runs out of stuff. It turns the workers, takes them apart.
Okay, holy shit!
And it just we see in the epilogues. At one point, we see its point of view in these kids that snuck in, and from its point of view, it doesn't seem malicious. its point of view is like, oh yeah, my prime directive is to take off the limbs and heads of animatronics. There's nothing in this room. Into the next room I go. Oh, the door's locked? Well, I have to find another way out so I can continue my programming. Like, it doesn't seem aggressive. It seems like it's just following its orders. It just doesn't see a difference between humans and animatronics. And it's like, it's very violent, but it seems like it's just very strong and following its programming.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
It's notable, especially with what we just saw. In the end of the epilogues, the way that the mimic is defeated is a girl tricks it to get into a jester springlock suit and activates the suit, which crumples it to a point where it's non-functional.
Yo, what?
So the fact that the teaser shows it in what looks to be a jester springlock suit is really important.
Yeah.
And then the only other things we know about the mimic, it seems likely that the Mimic 1 program is the basis of Glitchtrap.
Huh?
So in Help Wanted, we learned that they scanned in old technology to help pathing and stuff like that, to help program it. And then a virus kind of began in Help Wanted. It's never specified what exactly that is, but looking at Glitchtrap, he kind of functions in a similar way of the Mimic, where he sees things and copies it. Where the first things Glitchtrap says is, "Hello, can you hear me?" And the first thing the girl on the tape says is, "Hello, can you hear me?" in the same way. So it's stuff like that, and how like the Pizza Party maze level is a mashup of everything else we've seen in the game. So a lot of people think Glitchtrap is the Mimic 1 program who has been put into Help Wanted and is learning all of the terrible things Fazbear has done.
Holy shit.
That's not confirmed, but that is a very, very common theory.
Yeah.
Other important things, the books, again, whether or not they're in there, it's important to note what the books say about it. In the teens discover an old manual about the Mimic endoskeleton. Apparently, at some point after Edwin, things happened. Fazbear had a whole line of Mimic endoskeletons. The idea being, we don't have to program them. I can just dance in front of it, and then it'll do that dance, and now that's the dance it does. But they discontinued it. I think the quote was, for copying humans in unexpected ways.
Okay. Holy.
I think that's all we know. I think that's all the main bullet points we know about the Mimic. And then as far as like who made it, the big debate is if you believe all of the books are just 1-to-1 with the games, like the Tales books, then Edwin made it, so and so, like what we all went through. If you don't believe that the Tales books are in the games, the most common theory is, like you said, that it was Henry.
Yeah.
At least that's what I've seen.
Yeah, because like I was comparing endos. I think people said my microphone audio was cutting out, so they didn't like hear everything. But I was like saying like the endoskeleton looks like something Henry has made, and then I pulled up an image of Afton's endoskeletons, and I was like, I think we can safely say that Henry made this because Afton's endoskeletons kind of look like a wiry like mess in the Funtime animatronics to like contain children. But then, like, Henry's kind of just looks like, the animatronic, normal, stiff ones.
Yeah, it's very, like, it's important that the Mimic endoskeleton, especially what we see, is, like, very bare bones, like Henry's are. It is notable, a main function of the Mimic's endoskeleton is that it can adjust its shape to fit into pretty much any costume or exoskeleton, and it can also repair itself. We've seen it, like, if it breaks its arm and finds another endo arm, it can take it off and reattach the new one.
Okay. Holy shit. That's crazy.
So as far as, like, the modern Mimic endoskeleton, that's why it's, like, 6 different endoskeletons in one. Like, the arms don't match, the legs don't match, stuff like that. As far as the original Mimic, we have, like, a pretty good description in the books, but it doesn't line up with what we see in the games, and that's probably why. Oh yeah, I see people in chat are bringing up the storyteller. That was like the other clear-cut example in the books of the Mimic 1 program being used. In one of the other stories, Fazbear is like, oh, we've got an AI program that'll make stories for us so we don't have to work as hard anymore. And they implement it, and it's this big tiger head inside of a tree, and it plugs into everything in the Pizzaplex. Edwin Murray, who's still with the company, sees that, goes to investigate, and finds out that it is the Mimic 1 program. And he has like a PTSD flashback the moment he knows that.
Huh.
And then in that story, the Pizzaplex goes from like something that's normal to much more like what we see in Security Breach, where like the animatronics get aggressive and over the top and things start going wrong, which is another reason why people think Glitchtrap and the Mimic 1 program are essentially the same thing, because they function in the book a similar way. So most of the time, if you see something digital in Security Breach onward that seems heinous, it's likely coming from the Mimic 1 program. Like the Helpy from Ruin that was like orange eyes every now and then.
Yeah.
People think the same thing about that. I know a lot of people, myself, think that VIP, that program in the book that just came out, is also an extension of that Mimic 1 program.
Yeah, because VIP was doing some crazy stuff.
He was doing crazy stuff, and the fact that like when you go into MOE, you find like, oh, we're the virtual important pigs. We don't know who that new guy is. So like, okay, so he's doing crazy stuff, and he copied a character.
Oh, I don't think I got that far to see that one. Oh man.
But yeah, that's, as far as I'm aware, that's everything we like know for certain about the Mimic. And then it's just a matter of like, where do you line it up, and do you believe the books are one-to-one with the game?
Yeah, I can't wait to see how they like formulate his story for real. Cause like, what I don't know, I'm kind of thinking like weirdly, cause you know I kind of don't know, like I kind of like don't know everything with the FNAF books, or like the story as of right now. Everything's kind of a blur right now because I keep forgetting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is, even if you know the books. Like you're not that far off.
Well, probably Henry made it for Charlie. If we're gonna line it up with the books, then maybe like at some point Henry wanted to get rid of it, beat it up, and then maybe at some point it sees William doing something crazy and mimics him. I don't know. Maybe that's what it's gonna lead up to.
That's a pretty common interpretation if the Tales games don't line up, especially since like that like parent child that dies robot lines up really well with Henry from the Silver Eyes. Even to the point that when he was making the Charlie bots in the Silver Eyes, he stops on the fourth one and just like gives up and like leaves it to rot, which is similar again to the Mimic. No, it's really like the fact that this game is like a Mimic origin story essentially is a missing link, because we know, as if the books are true, we know why and how the Mimic was created, but there seems to be an event, like a key event that we know nothing about. So the fact that this is like the secret of the Mimic, that feels like this game is that event.
Yeah.
This game also looks crazy. This game looks so good immediately. Like,
yeah, like the old timey like filter,
the textures,
yeah, they're wild looking. Like I hope we go back to a more creepy era of FNAF, no more colorful stuff. But
this looks like it. This feels like the Fall Fest game with like that aesthetic and that time frame.
Yeah. 1979 too. Wait, was Fall Fest in 1979? Did we ever get that confirmation or no?
We know the two dates we have for Fall Fest are 1970 and 1983. Oh. So either it at least happened twice, or that was like the time span that it happened. Which does line up with 79.
Holy shit. God dang. Well, all right, I gotta get to doing stuff. Thank you, Rye, for appearing on the stream.
No, anytime, my guy.
Like, yeah, thank you for appearing on the stream and helping me out with this. You know what?
Y'all should make sure to like the stream right now. It's a button right there. You should click it, and you should sub to CistReactZ. It's right there if you haven't already.
Exactly, and sub to Ryetoast. He be making crazy FNAF theories, man. You gotta watch it.
We're all gonna have a busy August, huh?
Oh yeah, super busy August.
All right, best of luck to you.
All right, best of luck to you as well. See you later.
Later.
I like Ryetoast. Wow, man. Yeah, this is some crazy shit I'm hearing. Like, wow. Hey, Spriggy, if you missed it, Ryetoast just told me like the mimic lore, the